Hi, this is Dina for Splitcoaststampers. In this video, I'll show you one of my favorite techniques for using dies to create a resist outline for watercoloring. You'll need to start by preparing your die cutting machine for embossing. I'm using a Big Shot, so I'm going to turn my multi-purpose platform to tab 1. Then I'll layer a cutting plate, the silicone embossing mat, a piece of watercolor paper, my background die with the cutting side down on the paper, and my second cutting plate. I'm going to run that through the machine, and here is what I get. And you'll see that all the lines of the die are pressed down into the paper, but they haven't cut through. We're actually going to be working on the back side of the panel where those pressed in lines are raised out. But first you can see that I had a few little creases around the edge of the outline of the die. So I'm going to use a bone folder to just smooth those lines down. For the next step, you'll need a white crayon or a white oil pastel. And these are the oil pastels that I'm using. And these are just inexpensive Scholastic pastels. You can find a set like this for around $5 online or at a big box store. And we're going to use the white one, and we're going to use the flat side to rub over the raised areas of the watercolor panel. And I'm using a light to medium pressure here. You don't want to flatten the lines down. You just want a coating of crayon or pastel over all the lines. And if you get some white in an open area, it's not a big deal. It probably won't create any hard lines on your picture, and so it just adds to the texture of the image. I have a little unclean area on the end of my stick here that made some marks, so I'm going to use a white eraser to clean those areas up. To color the image, you'll need a water-soluble medium. You can use watercolor or distress markers for this, or watercolor paints, or re-inkers, or whatever you have that will blend with water. I'm using Zig markers here. These are the Clean Color Real Brush markers. And I'll show you another medium later on. Once I have all my color laid in, I'll use a wet brush to blend the colors out. And you can see how the lines are remaining white, or at least light, where I rubbed the pastel earlier. I'm keeping my coloring pretty simple here, but you can always go in and add more colors and layers if you want to. Here's the finished card. I kept the layout simple with a stitched frame and a sentiment laid across the panel. For my second sample, I prepared my panel in the same way. I impressed the die into the paper and rubbed the back side of the panel with a white oil pastel. But this time I'm going to use watercolor powders to color the panel. So I have some color burst and brush-o to work with, and I'm going to lightly mist the panel with water to activate the powders. And you'll see that the oil pastel on the outlines keeps the powders in each little section. If your colors don't blend out as much as you would like, you can use a brush to direct the water and also to fill in areas and blend colors together. There's a little bit of the oil pastel in the open sky area here, and you can see that resisting a little bit, but again, that's okay. Here is the card all finished up with a simple sentiment, and I really love how vibrant those powders are. I hope this gives you ideas for the dies that you have at home, and I thank you so much for watching.